Bernie Sanders, I've said it before, has laid down a template. He's shown that these guys are most likely chumps for taking their money anyway, because if you speak to the people, you don't have to take their money, they'll support you. That's how you become a rock star. And so he's kind of laid this down. So I don't know. I think there's a big chance, considering 6% of the delegates this year's primary have been given to a guy calling himself a socialist after 30 years of triangulation and neoliberalism. I think that's the result. It's time for the base to start wagging the dog of the Democratic Party. I hope it happens. I hope he can figure out a way to do it. I think he can.
Well, I think you're right. I mean, I think the hardest thing is keeping the momentum going. I mean, keeping the virtual rallies going. Like you're saying, that people are going to be out there and working, and they have to. Usually these, and I said it earlier, it's a cynical way of looking at it, but everybody goes back to their day jobs and their lives after an election. And this Sanders campaign has led me and others to believe, I think, and you guys more than me, I think, that maybe they will continue, and this thing will go farther than it has in other elections.
As soon as they start feeling it, you know, financially, economically, that's when Americans kind of rise up and they become political activists. And we saw a little bit of that with Occupy Wall Street, but, you know, they were immediately belittled and minimized, and eventually it fizzled out, and it was really depressing because I thought that might have been the beginning of a revolution. But I feel like Americans have been dealing with stagnant wages. They've been dealing with political corruption. They've been dealing with income inequality. And I want them to not see Bernie Sanders losing as a gigantic defeat, indicating that they can't do anything anymore. You can do something, right? That political activism, holding these politicians' feet to the fire, is incredibly important. And one of the reasons why they've been able to get away with everything they've been doing over the past few decades is because they haven't been held accountable. They haven't been held accountable by members of the mainstream press. They haven't been held accountable, honestly, by the electorate because of that political apathy. I think that Bernie Sanders has been the catalyst for some political activism that should continue evolving. It shouldn't die out. So that's basically what I'm trying to say.
And you said it perfectly. And also another thing that makes it so amazing is that he was able to get this movement going, and his people and everybody else, at a time we're not really at war. I mean, this is what war is usually, when this kind of stuff happens. This is over issues that aren't war. It's you know, Martin Luther King died during his war on poverty, right? And I think that was, you know, the People's Campaign and all of that, and he's remembered for starting with Jim Crow and segregation, and then it moves on to something else, and then that's what, you know, Sanders is able to do this when there's no war.
Even if, and I mean, it almost seems certain at this point, even though people don't want me to confess it, he's not the Democratic nominee. That doesn't mean that his ideas need to die,
no,
right?
You know, that's so true. And you know, every single campaign we've watched here, and I've watched in the privacy of my own C-SPAN, you watch at the end of the campaign, and the losing candidate comes out every time and says, you know, we really made a difference, and everybody stands behind them and in front of them clap. They never made a difference. They never made it. Bernie Sanders has made a difference. So no matter what happens, this campaign did do that, and you don't want to lose that. I think that's where you were going.
You don't want to lose that, and more importantly, all the people who felt passionately about Bernie Sanders because of his message aren't just going to go away. They're still going to be impacted by the same political issues, the same social issues, and as a result, I think that this movement is going to continue growing. So for anyone who's feeling depressed right now, and believe me, to a certain extent, I'm feeling depressed as well, you have to keep in mind that the country is going to move toward progress as long as people keep feeling like their voices aren't heard, that they're disenfranchised. You know, that population of people is going to continue growing, and eventually we will get the change that we need. Don't let those ideas die. Keep fighting for them.